Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is good, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and we are back and we are live. I have a very special guest for you guys this week. Don't forget also, this is going to be on Apple Podcasts, probably around Monday or Tuesday of next week. So if you're not on YouTube and you love listening about comics and everything comic related, do me a favor, go check me out. Signature Series Podcast on Apple Podcasts. But for my YouTube folk, how you guys doing? Great for you guys to join me tonight. I have a very special guest that I'm going to bring in just a second. But before we do so, I wanted to remind you guys that I am doing a 4,000 subscriber giveaway. When we get to 4,000 subs, and we're still about under 600 away from getting there, I am giving this awesome Thanos Avengers Infinity War 1/10 scale diorama away, man. I absolutely love this thing. If I was going to buy a Thanos 1/10 scale statue, this one would be it. Of course, he's got the Infinity Gauntlet on. He's ready to go. Probably one of the better looking 1/10 scale statues that I would buy out there right now. So I'm giving this bad boy away to a lucky subscriber of the channel when we reach 4,000. So I just wanted to give you guys that before I introduce my guest, and I'm going to bring him on right now.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
What's going on, bud? Thank you for joining the channel tonight.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so it should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I've been wanting to get you on the channel for a while, and I reached out to you, unfortunately, on short notice, and you agreed to come on. So I was ecstatic when you said yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So I want to start off by saying that if anybody is not following Comic Collector Geek on YouTube or on Instagram, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to him on YouTube, follow him on Instagram, because when I tell you he has an amazing collection, and people think that I have a great collection, this dude blows me away. If you haven't watched any of his videos, you'll see the background 90% of the time is just wall-to-wall comics, and it is quite amazing.
Yeah, it's. I wish I could have filmed in my comic room, because it is much more spectacular. I think people come to my channel not because of me, but because of my background. It's just like, it is pretty crazy.
It is. And we're going to see some of those books today, because I asked him to bring a few with him. So we'll see those later. But we want to get into a little bit about you, about the comic market. And of course, anybody who asks questions out there in the chat, please do me a favor, write them down. Of course, we're going to be answering all the questions that you guys have tonight about books, about what we're buying, about the market, anything you like. It's all fair game for both of us. All right. So I'm going to start off the conversation tonight by, I know you have a massive collection. So how many comics do you actually think you have in your whole collection?
So I actually collect magazines and comics. So I think I have about 10 to 15,000 magazines. And then I have another 20,000 comics as well. So
do you keep them all in that one room, or do you have them spread out?
Yeah, amazing. It's a magical room. It somehow can store all this stuff. It's pretty crazy.
It's literally one of the best. I mean, have you done a comic room tour yet of that room?
Yeah, I've done a few times, but there's actually it's kind of different than what people think in a way, because it's like pretty high ceiling, and I actually store stuff at the very top as well. So it's like all hidden. Like there's actually like just a ton of stuff like behind the slabs that I have across the top of my room. It's kind of crazy. And then I literally filled every like little space that I could find, like for either slabs or comics, or my coin collections in there too. So just pretty crazy room.
That's amazing. I mean, guys, like seriously, I watch this channel all the time because you just can't get away. When people comment on the stuff that I have in my background, it's like, oh, thank you so much, dude. When you see what he has, you're gonna put my stuff to like shame. So go check his videos out, because you're gonna be blown away. So almost 30,000 in total. That is just crazy. It's awesome, crazy. Wow. All right. So do you have a favorite genre? You collect a lot of books, you collect magazines. Do you have a favorite genre that you always go to, you always come back to?
So it's sort of what I tell my my LCS. I say, just pull any comics with the sexy girl on the cover. So that's the sexy girl genre. So so I mainly collect Golden Age nowadays, but so it's like in the Golden Age, sexy girl covers is known as good girl art,
Yeah.
and so I have a lot of good girl art covers that are just, damsels in distress, kind of sexy, kind of fun stuff. I that's the stuff I enjoy. I also collect the superheroes. I'm pretty broad in my collection. I collect pretty much anything. But I do I tend towards the sexy girl covers.
Because I do also see pre-card horror behind you too. So is that a big,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
collecting?
Yeah,
I
I love horror.
I got into the pre-card horror collecting a little bit, and I actually love the covers too. I was like I used to get the Fangoria magazine when I was a kid. I loved all
Oh
like
yeah,
the old horror movies. So like though when I collected those, I'm like, oh, I love these. But the one thing I found is that I feel like they don't appreciate as fast as some of the Marvel stuff. So I got into the Marvel stuff a little bit more, and I was a
yeah,
fan of both. But some of the covers for the pre-card horror, even like you said, the Golden Age, damsels in distress, they're really just unbelievable, right? Talk about that a
yeah.
little
I
bit.
mean, they're amazing. Actually, I collected famous monsters, so I have a complete collection of famous monsters. So
Oh,
there's like almost 300 comics and magazines in that collection, and they have some pretty cool covers too. And just I love that horror stuff as well. I'm a big horror buff as well, so I've
all right.
watched pretty much every horror movie.
So we're gonna break out some of the books that he brought to show us today. But before
Yeah,
that,
I can.
let me catch up on the chat. Just say hello to everybody while you're getting those books ready. So Brandon Metro, evening Lawrence, what's up, Brandon? How you doing, buddy? So he's working on his X-Men run tomorrow morning at his LCS. That is a great thing to do. Tomorrow I may hit up my LCS as well, hang out. I'm actually looking to rebag and board some stuff. So the Comic Hall crew, saying hello. What's going on, man?
Yeah, that's probably Biggie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Biggie
I did.
Shack.
Oh, I know
Yeah,
Biggie Shack. I didn't know he had
yeah,
another.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
this who's in the
Yeah,
Comic Hall crew? Who's in that?
that's me actually. I'm
Oh,
part of it
there you go.
sometimes.
All right.
Matt, and there's a bunch of us in there. Sometimes Man Cave's in there. A whole bunch of people. He kind of gets a bunch of
Do,
people in.
do you
So
guys have a regular separate channel, or you just go to each other's channel?
we go to Biggie's channel, and usually it's so Chrome Call Crew is actually Matt right now.
Yeah, I
it's
see.
not. It's not. But yeah, we usually go to Biggie's channel, and we just sort of get together. It's like pretty spontaneous, and we show like random comics that we got that week, or some of the stuff that we're showing. Matt and I are always competing. He's got some amazing comics too. He's another
I,
great guy. You should pull on the show at some point.
Absolutely, Matt. Do me a favor, contact me. But I want to be invited on the show, please. I want to go
Yeah,
and
yeah, I'll
and
get you on. I'll get you on.
ab-
I'm sure Biggie
absolutely.
wouldn't mind. Yeah.
No, he'll send me a comment once in a while as well. Hey everyone, Punisher XS. So all right, so let's get into the books that you brought. I'm dying to see what you brought.
So I wanted to show a little bit of variety, and I wasn't sure. Like I thought your channel was more like people liking modern stuff, but I brought my good girl art. This is some good girl art. This is Miss Mask. Okay, America's Best Comics. This is an Alex Schomburg cover. Let me actually. I don't know. Plastic's kind of not showing it that well, but it's a
Beautiful.
pretty great cover, I think. She was kind of a sexy heroine from the from the Golden Age. So yeah, I don't know. So this is
Definitely
America.
looks like better than 3.5 to me, but that's a
Yeah,
beautiful
it's
book.
pretty nice. The spine's a little mangled, so I try to pick books that are low grade, but present well.
I'm with
You
you.
know,
I do the same thing, especially when you're going after like an older book and a bigger key. Like I don't mind the lower grades. I think they're great as long as they
yeah.
present well, like you said.
So yeah, this kind of book though, the reason it just gets really pretty expensive once you start getting higher grades. So even in this grade, maybe 400 to 500, just so it gives
Wow.
you a sense of how pricey they can get. Um, and then I thought, I was thinking your channel, you like the more moderns. Like I saw a lot of modern stuff on your channel, so I brought some modern books too, like Doctor Strange, or what I consider modern. So this is like 1974 Bronze Age book, but
That
it's one of
Doctor
my
Strange
favorite
number one.
covers actually.
It's beautiful. Actually, I have a story about that book. When I first got back into collecting 4 or 5 years ago, me and my stepson were at a local show, and he was looking for something he could buy for $20. And I didn't know what at that point what to
Yeah,
go for. But they had that book with a coupon cut out, and they offered it to him
Mhm.
for 15 and he bought it. So that's what I remember
Yeah.
most about that book. But I'm shocked that you think me was a modern guy. I am pure silver big boys, but that's all right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know because you talk a lot about the modern books, like the top
The
10
hot
lists
10.
and stuff
Yeah, I
like that.
got you. I
See,
got you. I got you.
that sort of threw me off. So, but yeah. So I wanted to bring some Marvel and well, this is Bronze Age. This is kind of
Yeah.
in your wheelhouse a bit. So, but it's a book that when I got back, I sort of got back into collecting around 2017, 2018, like
Probably
full force.
right about me. I was about 2018 as well.
Yeah, where
2017.
like I was sort of, I just sold my house, got rid of the mortgage, and just had money to play with. So I was like, oh, I want to get that book. I want to get that book. So this was one that I really wanted, and it was a good time to get in because it was just before the crazy boom.
Yep.
So I picked this up for like $100. Now I don't know how much it goes for, but it was a pretty good price at the time, I thought.
I think that time to get in was probably the best time. Like as I did so myself, and I was able to pick up a lot of smaller keys where I was able to sell those, make good change, and then buy some bigger stuff. All right, so that's a book I am familiar with. That book has been all over the hot 10 list.
Yeah, this was on the hot list. So I thought we were going to talk a little bit about the hot list. So I was thinking, I'll bring some of the hot list books.
That's fine.
So yeah, so I brought this one. I'm more of a Swamp Thing guy actually, but I really did enjoy the film noir that they did. The whole
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night one. I
Yeah,
thought it
I
was
liked it
really
as
well
well.
done, and it
Yeah,
really makes you at the end. You really like like a man thing, so it's kind of cool. I thought Ted. It's kind of funny. I don't know. I really like that.
it definitely was.
So yeah, I picked that up a while ago though.
So Brandon says his newest book is the first Gore, the God Butcher, 2006, I think. He just finished his Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos run. Now, I want to bring
Oh,
this up
nice.
for 1 second because that was the #1 or #2 book on this week's Hot 10, and a 9.0 sold for $9,000. It was crazy. So if you have that book,
Oh,
bud, in any
really?
grade, it is worth a fortune. Yeah.
What the Gore the God Butcher?
No. The Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos.
Oh yeah,
That, that
I have a low grade copy of that, like a 2.0 or something.
still a 1.0 was like almost $600. So that book is
Yeah,
skyrocketed as well.
I forget how much. I think I paid 400 for my copy.
You did well.
Yeah, it's gone up so much. It's
Yeah.
been crazy market. I don't know. For some reason, these guys were together. Like I just grabbed a stack of books. So I really like Doctor Strange. I was a big like one of the movies that I really enjoyed. Not was an animated movie of Doctor Strange. If you ever see it, it's actually better than any of the Doctor Strange, you know, live
I gotta look
actions.
I gotta look for that. I
It's
haven't heard
really
of
quite
that.
good. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, so Doctor Strange, and then I did bring like this run. I picked up like the Elsa Bloodstone one. So I was kind of talking, Man Thing. I should brought Man Thing is in the same pile, right? So, but this is a book where I kind of like the fact that the spec. Well, I would have liked it if it stayed hot, but like this is the kind of book I like to pick up when it's in this current state. So right now it went from being like it was like a 300-400 almost up to like in a 9.8 it was up to 1,000 at one point almost, right? And then it just tanked. It's like really
Yeah.
down. That's when I love to buy them because I actually think that this series is quite good. The covers are brilliant. Like I'll show you the full run. So I brought just for fun. I just brought the full run because I have it. But they're all like really great covers.
Oh wow.
Shows that
That is nice.
back here.
Now does that a Copper Age? What year?
Um, no, this is like 2002.
2002. Okay.
Yeah. So it's but they all have really nice covers. So, you know, kind of I don't know. I like the
9.8.
cover. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So I didn't get all 9.8s, but one's a 9.6, 9.6.
Now, did you buy these raw and then had them slabbed, or you bought them slabbed?
No, it's so much cheaper for me because I'm in Canada not to buy it and do the CGC
Yeah.
grading because
Yeah, I get it. The shipping
it
alone
ends
is
up
probably a
costing me
fortune.
like $50 to $100 per book. So
Yeah.
like I can buy it slabbed, get it sent here cheaper than sending it off.
Yeah.
It's just
Makes sense.
yeah, it's
So
just
for
kind of
those of you
weird.
guys joining me on the podcast, we are looking at some Bloodstones issues 1 and further. So they're all high
Yeah,
point grades, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8.
but I brought some big books. Here's a big book.
Oh my god, that is a monster book.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
yeah, I bring something that's a little bit bigger. But
That is only, I think, how many copies of that book are out there? I think
there's like a
3,000 or
little
maybe
less
less.
than 300,
Oh,
under
300. Yeah.
300.
That is
And
crazy.
it's
Oh
rarer
my.
than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. People don't realize how big of a key this is. There's about 10
So
times more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles than this one.
again, for the podcast folks, he is holding up an Albedo number 2 graded at a CGC 7.5 white pages.
Yeah,
Wow.
this goes for about 7 to 8,000, I think, something like that.
That
It's
is
usually 1,000 per
crazy.
point.
Wow.
So
That is
yeah,
a book.
yeah. So I brought some cool stuff. And uh, as I said, I brought modern stuff just because I thought. So I brought like some more modern books. These are modern, but I figured, hey, why not?
Well, I'm a Spidey guy. Definitely. Spidey's my most thing. I don't collect modern books anymore. I will pick up some stuff to read every once in a while if I get recommendations, but other than that, I don't buy new books anymore. I might
Yeah,
have to start, but
but I mean, I actually kind of believe in this character. Silk and Spider Gwen and all those characters, like Miles Morales. I kind of think that even though they're kind of not as great as the original Spider-Man, but they are the Spider-Man for this generation.
I
And
agree. And if you're gonna put money into a modern book right now, I agree with you. It's got to be the Spider-Verse characters.
yeah, so I kind of have a lot of, I like this one a lot. I actually like this cover. This is the variant, and then I have the regular version as well. Yeah. This one I did get slabbed, but I should have gotten it pressed. It's like, actually, I don't know why they gave it an 8.0, a 9.0. Like, I don't know. Everyone always says PGX is easier at grading, but this book, I thought it was a 9.8 because there's nothing wrong with it. And
So
that they
when
gave it a 9.0.
do you only use PGX? I see you have
No,
a ton of CGC stuff, so that's why.
yeah, no. I wanted to try one of the graders out,
Yeah.
and I heard that PGX was the fastest at turning around.
And I
So
think they are.
I sent about 50 books over to them, and that was just one of the ones. And I also sent but I didn't get them pressed, so it was kind of dumb. So they're all unpressed, and they got terrible grades as a result, 9.2. But they're flawless. Like there's no spine ticks or anything, so I don't know why they
Ultimate
graded them
Fallout
so hard.
Ultimate Fallout 4 in a PGX 9.2 for guys on the
Yeah,
podcast listening.
yeah. I think it, you know, I think this one, if I sent it off to CGC and got it, pressed first, it'd probably grade at like a 9.4, 9.6. But
So let's do one more, and that book is going to bring me
okay,
into my next
I'll
question
bring
for you.
you.
Oh,
See, I did bring one Batman for you.
see, I love that cover, man.
Mhm.
That book always tempts me to go buy it every time that I see it because I love that cover. That is a
Yeah,
big one. What issue is that number again? Batman
this
what?
is 49, 49.
Batman issue number 49 in a CGC 6.5. That is a big boy book for sure.
Yeah. So this one is kind of cool because it's the first appearance of the Mad Hatter and first appearance of Vicky Vale.
Oh, I did not know that. First Vicky Vale. So
So
there you go.
so it's kind of a cool book, and it's a great Joker cover. So it's got like a bunch of things kind of going for it. It's
I
kind of
think
one of my
any
favorite.
I
Yeah,
think anybody who collects Batman, they have to be like to me, like when I collect Batman, so like the first thing I look at is you got to collect Joker covers, right? Especially
yeah.
when you go to the golden or silver age, you want those Joker covers.
The Joker covers are the best.
I I
They're so
agree.
awesome. Yeah, so
They are.
I like that
All
one.
right,
So
so that Miles brings me into my next question. We can come back to
okay,
the books in a little bit, but let's talk about the market right now because the market where it was, obviously when we got back into it in 2017, 2018, we had this great trajectory for over 4 years, and all of a sudden, this year, the end of 2021, we started to decline. And we hit some big crashes, especially in books like AF-15, Ultimate Fallout 4. You know, it was a $4,000 book at its peak, and now we're looking at a book that's probably around $1,600 at a 9.8. So, what do you think about the market right now? Is it a good time to buy? And if so, what are you buying?
Okay, so it's always a good time to buy. It's always a good time to buy. So like even during the boom, it's actually a good time to buy. So you just have to know what you're buying though. That's the thing. So what I've noticed, like I did a video back in March, I believe, of last year. Um, when the market was, it looked like it was just going to keep on going to the moon, right? But I was warning people at the time that the market was going to crash. And I said it was going to crash probably in around July, August, which was when it did crash. Because I saw everything kind of leading to that. It was like, it was pretty obvious to me that that was what was going to happen. And, but what I saw is that if you look at the books that crashed, is the ones that sort of heated up, like kind of out of the, kind of spiked. And it was really speculators buying speculators. So it was like, oh, I have a hot book. I'm going to flip it. And the next guy buys it thinking he can flip it. And so what happens is that creates a bubble, and you get like really crappy result as a result. Like it just, everything crashes, but it doesn't crash to zero. It doesn't mean that the books are worthless. So if you look at the overall trends, if you take like any book, any kind of key book, and you actually look at the historical trend, it's actually still going up. And what's happening is it's just correcting back to that natural kind of curve that happens. So it's like usually books will go up like 10, 15% per year. So, and you can sort of watch that. And it's sort of a steady thing. But what happens is like, if you're smart, what you're doing is you're not buying the books that kind of fall off that curve. So you just look at the trend lines. If a book kind of spikes off the natural trend line, then you know that it's not a good book to buy at that time. Wait for it. There will be a point where it'll crash. So generally, what I do is I watch a lot of these. Do you know JP Budget collects?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, he's going to be on my channel tomorrow. He's like the guy that I'm interviewing tomorrow. So what I was telling him that I use his channel to find which books to buy, because usually he's looking at books a year later, and a lot of them have become worthless. Like the prices have just dropped significantly, but they're actually still significant books. It's not that they got hot and then they sort of lost their flavor. So what I do is I look for that as a buying opportunity. And I try to do things where I look for books where they're on the down, and that I think have that potential to go up. Also, I generally buy things that are I buy a lot of Golden Age. So when you buy Golden Age, you don't have to worry as much.
Yeah. I know the
Because
golden age is interesting right now because it feels like a lot of the money is flowing over to that. Everybody that was in the silver age big keys and some of the modern big keys, they're dumping
yeah,
those and going into the golden age. So that's a really great spot to be in. So having the fact that you picked up a lot of this stuff already, it's got to be beneficial
yeah,
to you.
yeah. So what happens is like people like when the market goes bad, people always go move their money to where it's safe. It's the standard thing that everyone does when it happens in the stock market. If the tech market collapses, well, then they move over to the blue chip stocks, and you'll see it every time. And it's the same with comic market. When the comic market crashes, well, where do people move their comic money? They move it into the golden age, because those are slow and steady kind of books that go up. Also, the great thing about golden age that I really, the reason I gravitate towards it is it's a bit of a buyer's market, or seller's market, I should say, seller's market, because there's only like some of the books, like I'll show you an example of a golden age book. Actually, I have a couple here. Okay, so this is the first Bullet Man. Okay, there's less than like 60 on the census. Okay. So this book doesn't come up very often. And when it does, people that are looking for it will generally pay whatever price it is that the person is asking for, because they won't see it for another year or two. It's not like, Miles Morales,
Yeah.
where, there's like 50 copies you can buy at any given moment. There's only one with the golden age. And so
Yeah.
that scarcity allows you to kind of hold the prices a bit better. You don't have to worry that the market's going to get flooded with copies and,
Yeah.
it's going to, lose that value. So,
That's exactly what happened. Like you see all these AF-15s coming to market, you see all these Ultimate Fallout 4s coming to market, and they're all just getting dropped and dropped and dropped because there's just people don't just keep listing and listing and listing where it's just dropping down the price of everything. So that is a great point.
yeah, I was actually shocked with AF-15. I knew that it was going to drop, but I was shocked that there was an auction that happened on Comic. I think it was Comic Connect or Comic Link, one of those two. I always get the two mixed up actually, because they're so similar, right? Comic Connect and Comic Link,
Yes.
where they had 4 AF-15s at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that? That's the
Yeah.
dumbest thing to do, because that what's going to happen is people are not going to they're not going to bid it up because there's too much choice.
Well, when we saw like I don't remember what the copy was, that it was like a 9.6 that went for some crazy amount of money, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
it took off. We're seeing like 2.5 copies sell for almost $60,000. Like that's
yeah,
not sustainable.
yeah.
So when more and more copies start showing up, like there's no option but to go down. And I still think A15 to me is my Griel. I'm a huge
Oh
Spider-Man
yeah.
fan. I always think it's a good buy no matter what you pay for it, because I think everybody is just always attracted to that character. So to me, it holds a little bit of an exception. But
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a book that I will always. I have it in my collection, so I'm happy
yeah,
to
I
have it
know.
in my collection. But it's a book that what people don't realize is it's a really common book.
Yeah.
It sounds sad to say that, but there's like 5,000 of them on the census. It's not a rare book. So it's one that if the market ever goes up, you can expect. It's almost like if the market ever goes up, you can expect it to crash maybe a few months later. Because what'll happen is when it heats up, people will just dump their books onto the market, and then it'll crash again.
I
And that's
remember
what really
I,
happened.
I remember when AF when all the books started going up right in the beginning, AF-15 wasn't moving. I'm talking about you could have had like a 2.0 for like 10, $12,000. And it was
Yeah.
like, it wasn't moving. It wasn't going on. People were questioning, why isn't this book going up? It's one of the bigger books there is. And then all of a sudden that 9.6 or whatever that sold for, it just skyrocketed. I think. And it's still like, listen, it's not where it was, but it still has gone up since then. So like, I think a 2.5, right? Blue Label is about 25 to 30,000. So whereas back then a 2.0 was like 12, 13,000, it's still doubled in value. So I'm not going to complain, but
Yeah,
it just went up.
I was pretty lucky about my AF-15. So I bought my AF-15 from my comic shop. It's missing a coupon. So somebody cut out like a small coupon. Doesn't affect story, but it's annoying that it's a 3.0
Okay.
missing that little coupon, right? If it was a 2.5, they would even mention that. That would still be a blue label, but because it's a 3.0, it gets
Yeah.
a green label. Um, so the point is, I paid 10,000 for it. Okay. So then there was that, like, I was still doing the payments too. And then the big sale happened. I was like, oh, wow. All of a sudden, my $10,000 book was now worth 20,000. It sort of doubled overnight. But yeah, I was sort of lucky on that one, because I was thinking the same way you were. I was thinking, well, this book should be worth more. Everything else is spiking. This book probably is in time. Something's going to happen soon, so I better pick it up before I miss that opportunity.
Yeah. So let me ask a question. So your main thing right now is still Golden Age.
Oh
Is there
yeah.
anything that you're staying away from that you would say, hey, I don't want to go in towards that genre or book or whatever?
Um, Not from the like. I'm not a big Western fan. I don't collect
Okay.
Westerns too much, but I do. I'm almost getting sucked into it because a friend of mine, Night Tiger Comics, he always goes on about some of these Western covers, like, with good girl art. So it just sucks me in because it's like it's close enough to the genres that I collect that
Yeah.
I start getting sucked into it. But I generally don't like Westerns, but if it has like a good girl cover, like a good example of that is like Cowpuncher or Cowgirl Romances, which is, those are pretty, they have pretty cool covers, so from the golden age. I should have brought some just so you could see because they're pretty cool. They're just, good girl art stuff. Um, but generally, the modern stuff I'm kind of steering away from unless it has a great cover.
Yeah.
So I pick up I don't really pick up much Marvel anymore or DC, which is kind of like, unless it's like Harley Quinn or Catwoman, because they generally have good covers.
Yes.
But I generally buy a lot of Dynamite. Like, I find that their stuff is generally the better.
And that's what I've heard of. I heard a lot of modern stuff. The independents are way better than the big
Yeah,
two. I have an LCS in my town that no longer carries DC. They only carry Marvel because a lot of the kids come in and buy that stuff. That's where I think Marvel with the MCU. A lot of kids are drawn
yeah,
to that,
yeah.
so that they sell a lot of stuff, but they don't sell DC anymore, which is sad
Well,
because I like reading the DC stuff. But
yeah, I prefer DC over Marvel, like
reading,
in general.
yeah,
But yeah, yeah, DC's kind of lost its focus. I think they might get their focus back with the new management that they have.
yeah, I agree. I
Um,
agree.
so I hope it kind of reflects in the comics soon.
So I got a question for you because I know you have, like I said, we talked about before how that you have an amazing, massive collection. Do you ever sell any books or no?
So when I get to the state where I have doubles of something, then I sell my duplicate. So if I grade up or something like that, I'll sell my duplicate. Um,
But you
but
never like if you want to go out and buy a book, you never say, "Oh, I got to sell this one and I'll buy that one," or no, you just keep
no,
them. All right.
no, yeah, I just max out my credit cards and hope for the best.
God bless you, man. God bless you.
Yeah, no, I have fun with it. I just, I
That's what
do
it's
what I
about,
do.
baby. That's what it's
Yeah,
about, having fun, right? I think a lot of people forget that is a lot of times like this is supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to
yeah,
be
yeah,
like reliving your childhood. For me, like what draws me to the comic thing, not only my childhood and of course the nostalgia that it brings, but I was always big into the art. I love the art. And I think the art now, while it's amazing in the modern comics, some of the stuff they do is it looks like it'd be a painting for most of the time. But I was always attracted to that 60s, 70s, 80s art style for comic books. I've always been attracted to it. So that's
yeah,
part of
yeah.
why I do it.
Yeah, I find that I try to read most of my comics, like if I can, but you
Mhm.
never there's not that much time in like in my life to read like 20 some odd thousand comics.
Yeah.
So, but I do gravitate to the art. I really do love the art as well. So, I do like Silver Age books. There are some really great Silver Age books that I like, but I find that the art in the golden age is just, there's something about it. There's some kind of I don't know, like sort of old style charm to it. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll show you this. I'll show you another book. This is Miss Fury, #1. Okay. I don't know. This is like another Alex Schomburg cover. I just, something about it. Like, there's some action. There's almost like a story being told within that one cover. You know what I mean?
It's kind of she kind of looks like Catwoman right there swinging through the air, but
Well, yeah, actually, there's a lot of people that believe that Catwoman was ripped off her.
oh, there
So
you go.
she came out before Catwoman. So this is from 1942, but she was in the like newspapers and stuff like that before. So she was like, from the 30s. Um, but really kind of a cool character. Very complicated stories. If you ever try to read a Golden Age book, it's like, you got to spend some time
Yeah.
to read it. It's like not like the modern books you can read in like 30
Dude,
seconds.
the modern books, like literally it's all ads and there's like 5 pages you got to read. It's like
Yeah, well,
with the golden age
yeah,
and the silver age even, it's just it'll take you a good couple of days
like
to
the
get through like a full
dialogue
book.
boxes are like that.
Yeah.
That's like crazy. That's like a lot of reading. So yeah, but Yeah, I really enjoy this one. And I'll show you another. Like I want to show you a better example of good girl art. This is the kind of stuff that I gravitate to.
That I've seen before. I've definitely seen that cover before. Wings, what issue is it?
Wings of 91.
91. Okay, I've definitely seen that cover before.
Yeah, it's a pretty classic cover. You know, it's got the girl tied to a bomb. you know,
Stuff,
can't go
stuff.
wrong.
Yeah, we can't do that stuff now. I guess these days, people tied
Yeah,
to nuclear explosives.
yeah, it doesn't usually go over well. Feminists don't like that, but it's a pretty great cover, right?
It is.
Um, and then the other, like this is a big book. You've probably seen this one before, but this is a big book.
Blue Beetle. What's the
Blue
issue?
Beetle 54.
What is there a significance of that one? I love the cover. The cover's awesome.
Yeah, it's one that was mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent,
Okay.
which was the book that was written by Frederick Wortham that led to the end of the Golden Age. So it's this was one of the books that kind of brought the end of comics almost. Like, you know, it was like pretty, like people don't realize how different comics were in the Golden Age compared to the Silver Age or modern ages. Like back in the Golden Age, they had 2,000 publishers, and they were producing comics like in the millions. So it was sort of like the 90s in terms of comics, like the number of comics being produced per issue, and pretty much everybody read comics. Everybody, like, so, you know, and it actually, the book industry was kind of worried that the books would end, that there would be no more books, and everybody would just read comics because everybody read comics back then.
So
So
I want to describe this cover. So hold up,
okay,
up
okay,
back
yeah,
once
yeah.
I go. So the people out there listening on the podcast, I want to describe this cover for you. So it is actually a girl standing in front of a mirror. She's in a bra and she's taking off her bra or putting on. It looks like a blouse of
Well,
some sort.
it's the disappearing bra
It's
cover
a disappearing bra cover. So there's somebody
because
behind her standing with a knife, like he's gonna attack her. So picture that.
yeah, but you know, in the mirror she's wearing a bra, but here she's not. So
She's not.
it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. So yeah, but it's a Jack Kamen cover, just a very famous cover. This is one of those books that goes like 1,000 per point kind of level.
Oh wow. So it's a 3.5, by the way, if you guys are just not paying
Yeah.
attention.
So just give you a sense of, you know, it is kind of a major book. Um, but yeah, so like I collect all the books that were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. So there was like 155 books mentioned
Oh wow.
inside of that. I'm missing like four.
So the Comic Crawl Crew says that's an $8,000 book. So that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not eight. I would say it's like 4 to 5,
All right.
probably.
Well, so let's switch gears now. So I want to pose everybody out there in the chat who's watching out there right now. If you have any questions for Comic Collector Geek, do me a favor, or myself, you know, for anything comic related, whether it's gold, silver, modern, about buying books right now, about grades, about anything there, it's all fair game. uh, do me a favor, shoot them in the comments. But I want to shift over to your YouTube channel because I always like
Mhm.
to give props because you're one of the few channels out there that I'm watching. And I hate to say this because there's a lot of YouTube creators out there right now, and 4 to 5 years ago, like, you know, that's when I got into the whole thing, not of YouTube, but comic collecting. And I stumbled upon a couple of channels which I consistently watched back then. And now it seems like I only watch a couple of channels, and I'm
Mhm.
finding it hard to find YouTube and comic collecting content that I want to continuously watch. So I want to ask you, how long have you been on YouTube? And
Not
for
very long.
people who don't watch your videos of now, like, what kind of content do you do? How long you been active, and what kind of content do you do?
So what happened was I actually started about 2 years ago, but I only posted like one or two videos. I didn't really post that much. Then I decided I'm gonna, you know, really make the channel, you know, grow and do whatever it could. So January of 2021, I started posting every day. So from that day on, I posted one video a day, sometimes 2 videos a day. And then that's really my start date is January 1st, 2021, because that's when I really committed to actually posting every day. It's a bit of a challenge.
It's
So
very hard. For the people out there who
yeah,
don't know, who don't make YouTube videos, it is really hard. So I give anybody credit who's willing to kind of put in the work and kind of put yourself out there.
yeah. So I definitely put out a lot of videos. So the way I do it though is I have kind of a philosophy around it. Because my background is in marketing. Actually, I teach people marketing and stuff like that online. But one of my philosophy about YouTube channels is it's like a sitcom. If you think about a sitcom, basically every episode is the same as the previous episode. It's the same story. Just for example, like it take the show House. Like with the doctor drama thing. It's
Yep.
just a different disease the next week. It's the same story, but it's a different disease. Or Law and Order. It's the same story. But it's like a different crime. Or it's like so. It's like that kind of. If you have that kind of one idea, you can kind of recycle it over and over again. So that's kind of my philosophy with creating videos. So I actually, with my channel, I use like several ideas. So one is Mondays, I always do like a collaboration video with my friend overseas. On Wednesdays, I always do my Q&A video. So basically, I let my viewers ask me whatever questions they want, and they usually get me showing some random books. Like I have to dig through my collection to find these random books that they ask me to show, or they ask me about some really obscure part of history in comics, and I'll look it up and give them a good answer. And then on Fridays, I do a comic challenge, like where it's like I'll pick some weird theme. Like this week it was swords. So like you have to find cool covers that have a sword somewhere on the cover, and then I'll do a different theme each week, and there's maybe about 6 or 7 channels that participate in that challenge where they'll show books with their thing, and we'll all use the same hashtag, and it's kind of a community building thing that I do. And then on Saturdays, I do interviews where I interview like fellow comic collectors and just talk about comics and ask about how they got into comics and stuff like that. And then in between all of that, I do my unboxings because I seem to be buying too many comics all the time. So I'm always doing these massive unboxings, and I try to come up with new adjectives to call my unboxings because I called it massive, I called it large, I called it huge, I called it amazing. But I'm running out of adjectives to describe these massive unboxings that I do. So I'm actually gonna, in my next video, I'm actually gonna ask the audience what to call the unboxing because I've run out of adjectives to describe it. It's like it was like almost 300 pounds of comics,
Oh wow.
and all golden age and just amazing books.
So where do you mostly buy from? I know you mentioned my comic shop. Where else do you buy stuff from?
So I have like 4 main sources: my comic shop, Heritage Auctions, and eBay, and Comic Link or something like that. One of those ones will be my other source, I guess. And yeah, so with Golden Age comics, you can find them on eBay, but you got to be kind of savvy. Like there's some tricks that you can do. Like one of the tricks that I do is I collect certain artists that I think are like, if you ever collect Golden Age, like there's actually a skill to it, where like there's certain artists that people collect for the Golden Age. It's not like modern books. Like modern books, it's like who is in the book. That's
Yeah.
all that matters. Well, with Golden Age, it's more about who was the artist, how cool is the cover, and so what you do is I search by so I'll search something like Matt Baker. He's like a famous Golden Age artist. Okay, then I'll see a whole bunch of books, and because it's not like modern books where all the key books because, Comic Tom or somebody will talk about, or your channel or one of the channels will always talk about what the top 10 or hot books of the week are. And so everybody knows which modern books to chase after. But the golden age, it's not so clear. It's like, it's a bit of a mystery because there's not like a set list of books that people chase after. So what I'll do is I'll chase after certain artists. And so I'll do like a search for Matt Baker, and then I'll see a whole bunch of books that feature his artwork. And then I'll, because those books generally know that once you did that search on eBay, they know that Matt Baker's done the cover, and you'll see prices of anywhere from a few $100s to a few thousand. Okay, so I'm like, okay, that's out of my price range. So what I'll do is then I'll search those same titles that I know the Matt Baker did the art for, just as the title itself.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is you find somebody else that doesn't know that it's a Matt Baker, and you can buy it cheaply. I bought one book. It was a big book, but I bought it for like $10.
That's
that
crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, and I bought a collection of LB Cole books for, I think I paid like a total of $200 for 3 slabs of LB Cole, and he's like one of the big artists from the golden age. Things like that. If you're just kind of savvy and you search where people aren't looking, and you also do things like buy on auctions, like because people don't know what to search for, right? They don't. It's not like so sometimes people they'll do these $1 bid auctions, and you can pick up a massive book for like a few dollars because nobody knew that it was there to bid on. Because you're not expecting it. It's not like you're going to be searching every day for all these random rare golden age books. So you can pick up some really cool things.
So that actually, you just answered one of the questions that the Flexopotamus. How you doing, bud? I always see you on my chat, so welcome. He said he noticed that some covers are widely attributed to an artist. In particular, it was a Matt Baker cover. So I believe you just went over that, which is a great, it gave you a great insight in how he does it, because he's able to search Matt Baker, find the books that Matt Baker has done covers, and then take Matt Baker's name off of there and search just by the title and see what comes up, which is actually a great point. But there's other questions I want to ask you, because a lot of people on the chat are asking stuff now, which I think is great. So more questions, the better. So the first question we got was, is there a PC book that you would that would be most personal to CGC? I mean, I guess he means Slab. Is there a personal book?
No. CCG is Comic Collector Geek.
Oh, CCG. I got you. Would be most personal.
Yeah, I always think that's cool. Like my initials and CG.
See, I got confused too, because I saw CGC and it's
CCG, and I'm like, oh, what's that? That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the books that I always talk about, it's kind of lame, but I like it. Is well, there's two. One is Howard the Duck #1, and it's the book that got me into collecting comics, because I used to collect coins. I was a big coin collector when I was like a young kid, like when I was around 7. And then I went to my comic shop, and not my comic shop, my coin shop, and they had a comic on the wall. It was Howard the Duck #1. I was like, that's such a cool cover. It's like, this sword and sorcery kind of looking cover. And it's like got this duck, this crazy duck, as a kid, it's like kind of cool, So I thought, wow, this is really awesome. So that book kind of has personal significance. And the other book, it's right behind me, strangely enough, is this one. I love this book.
I own a copy of that as well.
Do you own this one? Are you sure?
I don't know if I have that cover, but I have a bunch of Zombie Tramps book. Mine is not signed, definitely not.
Okay, so this book is insanely valuable, insanely rare. So I think there's only 10 known to exist.
What's special about it?
It's the first Zombie Tramp. So this is when he was self-publishing. It was
gotcha.
And it's just incredibly rare. Like, it goes for maybe a couple $1,000s for a Zombie Tramp. But it's a cool Zombie Tramp. It's her first appearance, and it's just insanely rare. There's only like a few on the census. I think there's 9 on the census or something like that.
So we have a question that says from Flexopotamus as well. I noticed that themes are really important: skulls, red dresses, etc. So
Yeah,
one
yeah,
type of
yeah.
war book outpace others on an auction. Are flamethrower covers really desirable for some reason?
Yeah,
Flamethrower covers?
so I should have brought, I have like a bunch of flamethrower covers. So people like the kind of more crazy stuff, right? So generally, when you're looking at Golden Age books, what you want to do is look at certain genres within it. So it's like skull covers, yes. Actually, there's a bunch of books right behind me. I was going to grab. Okay, I was going to grab. Okay, so skull covers. Women in the red dress. That's kind of a subgenre. Like it's usually women in red dress, bondage. Sort of the more extreme, something that's like. So in a way, it's sort of like when we think of the golden age, it's like that's like 80 years ago, right? So what you think is like, oh, it's an innocent time because that's everyone dressed more formally back then. So what's cool about the golden age is what people go for is the more extreme stuff, that stuff that you can't believe that they would have printed that. Like a good example is Punch Comics 12. It's a skull cover, and it's got all these people, like people like shot up and like hanging out of the different parts of the skull, like we got dead body hanging out of the eye sockets, right? And it's just an extreme cover, that kind of people go, oh, that's really cool, because it's so extreme. Another one is I have uh, I have a bunch. So I'll show you some good girl examples. So another series that you can look at is Planet Comics. And the reason I mention this one is it's a good entry point. So if you're just trying to get into the golden age, what you can do is you can try like a series like Planet Comics. So one of the things that people like is sci-fi. So horror, sci-fi are really popular. Well, Planet Comics has like all sci-fi covers, right? And then it also has good girl art. So it's like good girl mixed with sci-fi kind of covers, and it is very very popular. So it's a good one to get sort of your taste for the golden age and really get into. Like these ones are really awesome. I'm trying to get a run of Planet Comics. Like, I have about 20 so far from the series.
So Brandon says he likes the white heat cover where the guy's face flesh is falling off. So that's Black Cat Mystery 50. Actually, I used to own that book. I did
Yeah,
sell it, but that is an amazing cover.
yeah. So those kind of things where people are. My rocket to the moon. It's somewhere. I'm not sure if it's nearby. I got some other cool ones though. This is the other kind of. This is another SOT
Ah,
book.
I love that cover
So
as well.
this is another thing that they look for. So death covers. So skulls represent death, but this is like a hanging cover, and flamethrowers kind of represent death as well. That's why those are popular. But this is a really great one because it is pretty extreme. The guy's neck, you can actually see the bone.
Oh yeah.
It's like pretty crazy.
What issue is that? Crime Suspense Stories
It's Crime
issue
Squares 20,
20.
under 20. So it's a Johnny Craig cover. Um,
Johnny Craig was one of my favorite Golden Age pre-code horror covers. I actually did a top 20 pre-code horror comic video, guys. If you're into Golden Age pre-code horror, check that video out because I went through all those books. I gave you the artist. They're quite amazing. So check that out. That one
yeah.
as well.
So again, this has those elements. Like, so this book was mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. So that's a key by itself. It's one that with a hanging cover, and it's got that extreme kind of element to it. Also, it's a famous artist, and it's EC. So all those kind of things add to the collectability of it. So those
Yeah.
are kind of some things to look for.
Flexopotamus,
Um,
thank you, buddy. I really appreciate the super chat, man.
what was it gonna? Somebody asked for a specific book. I don't know if I have it handy, but
Sure.
I can show you like a modern, like not a modern, but a bronze. Like, can I show nudity on your channel?
Do what?
Can I show some semi nudity? I love this book. It's a really funny book.
Go for it.
Okay, so
If
this
I
is a
get thrown
really
off of
funny
you,
one.
all right. Oh wow,
It,
Cocaine Comics.
yeah, this is a really highly sought after book. Really rare, by the way.
I've never seen that one before.
Yeah, yeah, but it's one of those ones. Once you see it, you're like, oh, that's a really crazy cover.
What issue is that?
It's number 3.
3. Okay.
Um, yeah, so this is one that people, if you once you know it, it's one that can go for usually about 500 kind of range, and it's
So
just
Flexopotamus has another question. Are some books really best guess? And if so, does that affect pricing desirability? I'm not sure I know what he means. Do you?
are some books really best guessed, and does that affect? I'm not sure. I don't know. So, but my point is, like, when I showed that, the reason I showed that one, the cocaine comics, is what you're the elements. Like, I want to show it again just to give you an example. So, another thing that in the golden age or any age that you look for is like kind of like this extreme kind of situation. So this is like a devil. He's snorting cocaine on the cover. It's
I see that.
pretty extreme. And then you have these naked angels around him. Okay, that is like so many crazy elements, and so that creates a weird desirability. Um,
That guy, he looks like the guy who played, what does he play? The guy who played Boris Karloff. That's who he looks like on that
yeah,
cover.
maybe a little bit. Yeah, I could see that. Okay, yeah, it's kind of it's just, but the point is like, so when I like look for covers in golden age, modern, or whatever, I look for something that is very different from everything else, and that has sort of like those classic elements that you're going to be like, okay, this is going to be something that people will see like 20 years from now or 100 years from now and say that's crazy or that's cool. um, you know um, that's kind of what I look for in terms of buying books. And so you can buy a lot of books. um, what people don't realize is with the golden age, um, when they used to do the price guides, they used to show like, you could see like, for example, I mentioned Punch Comics 12, right?
I'm familiar with
So,
that cover.
yeah, yeah, it's a very famous one. So the way the price guide used to work was number one is more expensive, right? Just because it's number one for whatever reason. And then they would go two to like 10, a certain price, or 12 through certain price. But you never got to see what those covers look like. Okay. And what happened was, a lot of the time they just clump them together. So if it's 2 through 10 or through 2 to 12, they would all be like $50,
Mm.
and they didn't really value them because nobody knew what they were. They didn't know nobody knew what they even looked like. But then there was the Gerber photo journal that came out back in the 70s. And basically, what the guy did is he took photographs of every single Golden Age book. And once people saw the covers, all of a sudden, certain books spiked in price because people were like, those are cool covers. So, what I recommend for people to do is like look for covers that are cool that people just don't know, you know,
Hmm.
and you can find them. Like, there's lots of really great covers that people don't know. And then if you just show anybody, they'll like, you know, they'll go, wow, that's so cool. They'll probably double your price right off the bat because they'll want it from you. And there's probably not that many copies out there. So the point is like, you can find some really great things just by looking at covers. That's why I say look for those kind of key artists and then search for their covers that they did, because you can, you say, hey, that's a really great cover. It's probably undervalued. And once people know about it, it'll spike in value.
Yeah.
And that's,
So I think Biggie's asking here, what is your favorite Silver Age first appearance book?
um, so probably either Amazing Fantasy 15, which is kind of the obvious one, or Vampirella #1 would be another
Eh,
one that I really like.
I agree with you. I
Um,
love that. I love that color cover,
yeah, it's
Vampirella number one. I
one of
think
my
it's
favorite
beautiful.
covers. And actually, like when I got my Fantastic Four #1, I was quite excited about that. I never thought I would own that book. It to me, it was like a grail of grails because it was one of the books that really launched
It
Marvel
started
as a,
everything.
yeah.
Started everything.
So I kind of see that book as, and I kind of like the cover because it's sort of like that. Uh, they were doing monster books before, right? They were kind of like Marvel was all monster, like Tales to Astonish. All those books were like monster books at the end, in the '60s, '50s, '60s, and then Fantastic Four #1 is kind of like the crossover where they're mixing the monster that's coming out of the ground and these superheroes. So it's kind of that transition. And
Biggie also says that he's waiting for someone he knows to get a Superman one or even better a Batman one. So the first episode of the Signature Series podcast, Biggie, I actually interviewed someone and he showed it. He just got a Superman #1. His name is Errol Molnar on Instagram. It's an
mhm.
amazing book. He's an amazing guy. Lives in Australia. But I was telling him before the show started that I am looking for a Batman one right now, but it has to be really low grade or a restored copy. So.
Affordable is what you're trying to say.
Yes, well, as affordable as a Batman one is gonna get.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I knew somebody that had a Superman one, and he sold it cheap. Actually, I was like, oh man.
Where was I when he sold it cheap?
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh man.
Alright, so Flexopotamus says sorry he got cut off. Are some Golden Age covers unknown and CGC in the community is best guess who did them? So
Oh yes. So yeah, there are a bunch of covers like that.
and he says, does it affect the pricing or desirability that they don't know who did it?
Yeah. So yes, it does. Definitely does. Because uh, Matt Baker is a good example of that because a lot of the time when he did the covers, he wasn't attributed to doing the cover. He has sort of a style that you can sort of recognize, but it's not as distinct as some of the other artists. Like if it's a LB Cole, for example, you can spot his stuff a mile away because he'll use these vibrant colors. But Matt Baker, because he did a lot of work for other artists, like he would do the penciling. So his first pencil art is in Crown Comics #4. Okay, but what happens is if you're the pencil artist, the inker comes in, the colorist comes in. So your artwork is basically gone by the end of the day. It's
Yeah.
very little you at the end of the day. So you don't get that, attribute for as being the artist for the cover. So his first cover is actually Crown Comics #6, which is 2 issues later, which I have actually somewhere in my basement. But the point is, with a lot of those artists, they don't know who did them, who did the covers, and it's sort of like you got to sort of guess who it is. For example, Matt Baker's most famous piece is Phantom Lady #17. And with Phantom Lady 17, it's do you know the cover? It's like she's like kind of this headlight. It's a headlight cover, and she's in bondage. It's a phenomenal cover. But there's a lot of people who think that it could be like Al Felstein, another artist that was actually involved with creating that piece. So it's like one of those ones where they attribute it to one artist, but maybe it was another artist that was involved. So a lot of the time with the Golden Age, they didn't really promote the artists like the way that we do nowadays. Like nowadays, it's all about the artist, right?
Mhm.
What sells the book nowadays is who is the artist. Like anytime Adam Hughes comes up, well, that book is like instantly something. Anytime a Sotomaki or somebody like that, people know it. But the point is, in the Golden Age, they often didn't tell you who the artist was. You didn't know. You just kind of have to go by the style, and you know, so best
S-
guess generally isn't as good as confirmed.
So Seahorse says, so drugs, women, and sci-fi. Got it. He's probably right because I think probably that 30s, 40s era is probably a great time to go and do all this stuff because there wasn't as much, fear as we have, after the fact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So a lot of the a lot of the drug covers actually do well. You know,
I remember, even like some of the Silver Age, like the one with the drug stuff where they don't have the Comics Code of Authority, they actually go for some decent amount as well. So,
yeah, like a
um,
Spider-Man '94, for example.
exactly. I just picked up a Spider-Man 98, same thing. It was
Yeah,
more than I thought it was going to be just because of
yeah,
that.
that little
Black Box Silver and Bronze says, do you consider Gerber scarcity index as well?
So, okay, so I mentioned the Gerber guide, and in the Gerber guide, it would actually kind of figure out how many of these books actually still exist, and it had like a scarcity index. It was a numbering system from 1 to 11, and 11 is something that just doesn't exist. It's like known to be printed, but not known to exist. Like a 10 is something that there's less than five and known to exist. So that's the scarcity index. It's like a one would be like a modern comic because you can pick it up with no problem.
Anywhere.
Um, so yeah, so scarcity index is really really important, but it's a little deceptive because like if you take a book like I don't know some random crappy book that nobody cares about, you'll look at the census and there'll be none on the census because nobody cares about that book. It's not worth slabbing. If it's a dollar bin book, nobody's going to slab it. And you can find dollar bin level books from the golden age that nobody cares about and nobody will ever care about. They're just not cool in any particular way. So sometimes it's hard to judge how scarce a book really is. Gerber's scarcity is kind of based on his experience with dealing with these big collectors, like make me look lame kind of level collectors, like these collectors that are just have everything like, and based on whether or not they had these random little books from the golden age, they kind of created this idea of how scarce are those books. So yeah, so that is a much more accurate guide. It's still, usually they say it's 2 times whatever Gerber suggested. So if they suggested there's only 10 copies, there's probably more like 20. So it's one of those things where it's really hard to judge how many books are out there because they're always finding like a warehouse find. It's like Fantastic Four 48, I believe. They found a warehouse find and like all of a sudden it's a pretty common book. Um, yeah. So what were you
So
gonna
we have one more. We have another question, and guys, please keep them coming. We're over an hour already, but if anybody has more questions, we'll gladly stay on for a little bit. Here's a question for both of you: what book would from gold and silver is the most overvalued book?
So when there was that AF-15 sale for 3.6 million, I would have said that book.
Well, that was a 9.6 though, right? I mean, I don't even know how many at a
9.6.
9.6 exist.
Yeah, there's three, I think, two or three, something
Oh,
like
okay.
that. So yeah, I would have said that was overpriced.
For
Yeah.
me, I overpriced Silver Age or Golden Age. I couldn't even specify. Like Silver Age overvalued for me. I don't know about gold or silver, but I could tell you some of the like modern stuff I think is way overpriced. Everybody who knows watches my channel, like the Ultimate Fallout
Mm,
4, the variant one that's like $30,000 or whatever it is. To me, I think
that's
that's insane.
overpriced.
To
That's
me, I think
overpriced.
that's nuts.
How many
But
of like there's like 200 or 300 of them on the census, isn't there?
yeah, I know there's not many of them. Don't get me wrong, but
No, but I
I
mean
can't.
that's compare that to a golden age book. That's pretty common. Like
Yeah.
golden age books are usually average like under 100.
So Biggie says instead of gold, what about bronze? Overvalued bronze? What for me? I when I say bronze, there's 5 books,
I
four
can
or
think of
5 books I want to own, and that's really it. And that's Giant Size X-Men 1, Amazing Spider-Man 129, Marvel Spotlight 5, and Incredible Hulk 181. Now, if you want to throw 180 in there because it's his true, first cameo, first appearance,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
okay with that. Other than that, I think those are the 5 you want, and after that, it's all everything after that is probably overpriced.
Hulk 181 is one of the ones I would say is overpriced.
100%. 100%.
There was actually a Comic Tom video about it where, it's the Golden Age Guru guy,
Yeah,
and he
Jeff.
had like 50 copies of.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. And he sent them all in to be graded. I saw that.
Yeah, so it's like, but that's typical for that book. There's so many people that are just sitting on
Mhm.
tons of those books. And if whatever reason, I could see two things happening. One, there's a spike in the market, like right now, where with this whole Deadpool thing, Deadpool Wolverine crossover, right? Where he was doing all those promo videos with Hugh Jackman.
Yep.
Um, you know, that spiked the book. It kind of brought it up. Um, and what happens is whenever the book spikes, anybody that has those like 20 copies or 30 copies of Hulk 181, they're going to be like, okay, if I just sell a copy,
Yeah.
I can make some money. So and what'll happen is the market gets flooded with them, the price tanks, and then they rinse and repeat. It happens over and over again.
If you go on eBay, there's probably literally 100 copies for sale, and that's a lot. That's a
Yeah,
lot of copies of one book for sale.
yeah,
Biggie says House of Secrets 92 over Spotlight 5 for me. So yeah, I'll give you that one 100%. If I had to
yeah.
throw a
Me
DC
too.
book in there, that's it. But my thing with Swamp Thing is that he's such a great character, but they've never been able to get it right. They had the show back in the 80s. They had that great, was it on Netflix? They had one season. The show was
That was
good.
great.
And yeah, it was great. And then they canceled the show. It made no
I don't
sense.
even know why. They air all these other crappy shows, but
Yep.
that one they cancel. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, House of Secrets 92 is one of my favorite books of all time. It is like one of the best covers of all time.
It is. Wrightson was awesome. If I had to pick a DC book that I'd want to buy right now that is not a Silver Age book, and the Silver Age for DC is tough because all those are like, they're the first Silver Age appearances for a lot of those characters, and the Golden
Mhm.
Age is really where it's at to buy. But for Bronze, I mean, that's the first appearance of a major character, and that's why I think
Mhm.
DC. That's probably the number one book for the Bronze Age that I would buy for DC.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, House of Secrets. You don't have that book in your collection?
I used to have a 5.0 copy, and then
Oh
I let
wow.
it go because for me, while I love the book, it didn't appreciate as fast as some of the Marvel was. So for,
Yeah, I mean that's true.
I could always go back and just rebuy it for the same price. So I wanted to put my money into something that I could, even if I wasn't crazy about it or I was crazy about it, I could put that, make money, sell that, and buy back the stuff that I wanted. So eventually I will pick up another copy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny with DC. Like, they always talk about like scarcity and like keenness and all that kind of stuff. But it's DC has all that and still is like half the value of a Marvel book.
I know.
You know, it's just so crazy to me. I never understood why Marvel books are so overpriced in general compared to
I
DC.
think I think there's 5, maybe 6 books from the Silver Age Marvel that, like, I think if you would collect for the long term, I'd say you do it. And that's
Mhm.
AF-15, Hulk 1, Fantastic Four 1,
Yeah.
Tales of Suspense 39, and Journey into Mystery 83. I gave you 6 books that I think from the Silver Age of Marvel that if you're gonna go out and collect 6 books from the Silver Age Marvel, those are the 6 I would buy, and then I would say you don't have to buy anything else.
Yeah, so when I got back into, like I said, 2017, those were the first books that I picked up.
Yeah,
I
you're
picked up
smart.
all of those books. Yeah, I picked up all those books because they were the ones that I always wanted. X-Men 1 I would throw in there too.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give you a 7th. You're right. X-Men 1.
Yeah.
And
So
we're gonna go further, and I'll give you 8 is Fantastic Four number 5. If you want a
yeah,
villain on the
oh,
list, Doctor
that
Doom.
was
That's
that
it.
book I chased so hard, and it just like I just kept on getting screwed over. Like I bought it 3 times before I actually got it. Because what had happened is like I bought it at auction. It was like a 2.0, and I got it for like I think it was 1,500.
Oh my god.
Okay, so I was like, yes, I was like shouting, I was like dancing, doing the whole dance, and then because my account got is says I'm in Canada, even though I have a U.S. address that I can ship to. the guy said, "Oh, you're in Canada. Sorry," and he canceled the auction. He canceled the thing, and
Unbelievable.
yeah, because he knew that it was not a, he
A
didn't get the
good
price.
price. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you could do that. You could cancel an auction just for that.
yeah. So that
Crazy.
I was like, what? I could have shipped like he blocked me. He didn't even respond to me. It was like so bad.
It's funny.
Oh,
I
Avengers
got
One is another one.
Avengers 1 is really, it's a great book too, but again, another book. I own it, but it doesn't go up. Like, it's gone up a little. It should be way higher than than it is now.
I think a
Um,
lot of people think that the reason I think Avengers One is kind of suffered a bit is it is a great book, but it's a one that's the franchise is kind of done,
yeah.
and I think that's what people are thinking. So there's not that. What you always need is a little bit of spec, that little bit of like, oh, this is going to be the next big thing, you know. So I think that's
It,
why Avengers One suffers a bit.
it also, because there's no true first appearance in that book. It's the first appearance of the Avengers, but
The
it's
team,
all the
yeah,
individual characters have already had appeared. So
yeah, yeah.
that's the other reason. But
But it's a
I,
great book. I love that
oh, it
book.
is.
It's
It's
another one I
fantastic.
put on my list.
And it's affordable. So I think if anybody out there who can't go out and get, any of the aforementioned books that we named, because they're all like, all those books I mentioned are 5,000 and plus books around, even in super low grade. I
Mm,
think probably the least valuable is Journey into Mystery 83 at this point. Avengers 1 is a great buy because you have everything. It's the first appearance of the Avengers, who they've had major motion pictures at this point, and there will be more, even though they probably
mhm.
have some different Avengers characters, but it's still a
Yeah,
great buy in my opinion.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's still a $2,000 book, though, isn't it? Like
at least, yeah, at least.
it's still not. It's not like, oh, I'll just go over and buy a
Yeah,
Avengers one.
it's expensive book still, but listen, it's probably number 10 on my list. I mean, I mentioned 8. That's probably number 10, I would say, of Silver Age
Yeah,
that I'd want.
yeah, yeah. There's a few in the Silver Age that are pretty awesome. I'm a DC guy, so I'd have some DC books in there, like
From the
Showcase
Silver Age,
Four or something.
what was it?
Showcase Four,
So first, Flash, of
First Flash.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me that's
Um,
the biggest of them.
I agree. That's probably the biggest DC book from the Silver Age. But
Yeah,
after that, like, you have the first new Green Lantern.
yeah.
But it
22.
yes, so it wasn't like the first Green Lantern though. It's the second Green Lantern. So
I know.
that's why I think it hasn't gone up much as well. But if I had to bet on a DC book outside of Showcase 4, that would be it, 22.
Yeah.
They are doing something with Flash. I know there's going to be some type of there was supposed to be an HBO show and then they canceled it. But now I hear them they're reworking it. So I don't know if it's going to be, Guy Gardner or whoever or John
Yeah.
Stewart or who the hell knows who it's going to be. But they're doing something with the Green
It
Lantern.
sounds like they're gonna do John Stewart
Yeah,
with Green Lantern. Yeah.
that's what I heard as well. So I mean,
Yeah. And that's a book that's I think reasonably affordable. You can pick it up for like $400 or $500 or something in that range.
for what?
For
For the
first
oh no
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 it's
no
the
no
first John
first
Stewart. John Stewart.
yeah
John
John
Stewart. Yeah,
Stewart,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That book. I had a crazy story about that book. My LCS had that book and it was a lower grade. I picked it up for $20.
That is a good
This
price.
this is years ago, but still worth it
Yeah.
for $20.
I have a Neil Adams signed copy of that book.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
Black Box Silver says he likes Daredevil 1 and Hero for Hire 1 as undervalued keys. Yes, I did a whole series. If you go back and
mhm.
check on some of my YouTube videos about undervalued keys, and they were both definitely on there.
So Daredevil 1 is kind of interesting one because it was undervalued for a really long time, but it was one of the ones that jumped the most during the comic boom.
Yes, but it's still, if
So
you compare that to like
I know,
AF-15,
still undervalued.
nowhere near it.
Yeah.
I actually have a Daredevil 1 signed by the guy who plays Daredevil in the movies now. Forgot his name,
Oh,
Charlie Cox. It's crazy.
Jerry Cox. Yeah.
Only copy I've ever seen like that, but when I saw it, I had to pick it up.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I Daredevil one's another one that I went after when I got back into books, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I bet I have now a Daredevil run. Like I'm trying to get 1 through 10.
Daredevil's
I'm
hot
only
right now.
missing number 5 for some reason. It's just the only one I'm missing.
Number 2 is one of my favorite covers. That red cover with the it's also double second appearance with Electro and
Yeah,
him second appearance.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is one of my favorite covers of all time. So Flex says dollar value aside, how much of a step down is it from True Silver Age first, from like Thor 126 versus Jim 83 to Iron Man versus Tailspin 39. So let me start first, and then I'll let you answer this because
yeah,
I
yeah,
answer this question all the time on my
yeah.
YouTube channel. I don't ever overpay for second appearances, but for first in their own series title. Again, another
Mhm.
video I just did was books that I'd want to own that weren't first appearances, but first in their own solo title. I did a video on that, and I got to be honest, I love Iron Man 1. I think that's if you can't go out and get a Tailspin 39, I love Iron Man 1. Thor 126 is, I think it's an okay book, but I wouldn't go out and spend the
Yeah,
money that they're asking on that one. But as compared to like I'm not going to compare Amazing Spider-Man 1 to AF-15 because ASM 1 is still ridiculously expensive. But Iron Man 1 is so cheap compared to Tales of Suspense 39. You can go out and get a 4.0 for $700. It's a lot of money,
yeah.
but like I'm going to show you something right now. I wasn't going to do this, but I'll show it now on
Okay,
this live stream.
okay, cool, cool.
So I went to a local show that I go to. Maybe they have it every month, but I just picked this up. Now this
Oh, nice.
thing is
Very
what
convenient.
this thing is destroyed. So it's there's tape on the spine, there's tape all over this book. Okay, guys,
Mhm.
take a guess how much I paid for this book. Take a guess.
Still probably about $100 or so.
I paid $75 for an Iron Man 1. I know,
Mhm.
granted, it's tape all over the book, but it's still an Iron Man 1, right? It's a Silver Age book that was printed in I don't know if it's 70, I think it was, or 68 or whatever the hell
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. I think it's 68.
I think it's 68. So
Is they all the premiere issues came out in 68.
So there you go. $75. And it's just the fact for someone who wants to own this book, it's so undervalued. So now I'm gonna let you answer the question.
So I usually use the rule of thumb of like 1/10. I
All
think
right.
that's pretty accurate. Actually, it works out. But Thor 126 is really cheap. It's not even maybe 1/20th or 1/30th of the value. It's not. I think the reason Iron Man 1 is better than Thor 126 is though even though Thor 126 is really the first Thor title, what happens is um, with Iron Man 1, just that one being
Yeah.
on the cover is it seems cooler than these things where they just change the name. It's sort of like what's it called? Tales to Astonish 205, is it? Or is it 205 the one where it switches to Hulk?
No, it goes 102. It was 101 and then it
Well,
goes to
sorry,
Hulk at 102.
yeah, 102. So
Yeah.
totally off on the number.
I
But
agree with you. You're
you
right
know what I'm
about
saying?
that.
It's not as cool as if it was just Hulk 1 or
Yes.
whatever 1.
And it's a
Uh,
big premiere issue. Big premiere
yeah,
issue. That's what it is.
I I I just finished my collection of those.
I You
I
have
got
every one?
yeah, I have every one.
Oh my God.
There's not even that
I-
many. It's like I think
No, it's
there's
like 100 and something, right?
no big premiere issues.
Oh, I thought you meant Iron Man. I thought you meant Iron
No,
Man.
I meant big premiere issues.
Oh, wow. How many are
Yeah,
there of those?
I think there's like 8 or 9. It's not, but it's like but there's a bunch of cool ones. It's like Captain Marvel 1, um, Iron Man 1, Silver Surfer 1, um, Submariner number 1. So there's a bunch of cool books in it. I don't remember them all, but yeah.
So Biggie makes a good point. The Doctor Strange book, that Strange Tales 115, that went up and then it just dropped right back down. I saw like a 1.5 go for like 1,500 the other day. The
Oh,
Strange
do you
Tales
mean
115.
110 or do you mean 115?
One, no, 110. I'm sorry, 110. His
Yeah,
first
yeah,
appearance, 110.
yeah, yeah. That book, it's one like I have it in my collection, so I do love it. I showed Doctor Strange at the beginning of this, but it's a book that suffers from the fact that it's a terrible cover.
It is, yes. And he doesn't appear on the cover either.
Yeah, it's just such a bad cover. Like Doctor Strange as a character, I think suffers because his first like 5 appearances are he's not even on the cover.
Yeah. But you're probably right. Subby 1. Again, Subby 1 is another one. Like like
Yeah.
Submariner 1, like it went up a little bit, but even Fantastic Four #4, the first Silver Age Namor, it went up a bit, but like I find a lot of people not gravitating to buy that book for some reason. I don't know why. It's a great cover, but I don't know what it is. But a lot of people aren't in search for that book.
Yeah, it actually did like when I picked it up, it did go up. I think it's doubled since I bought it, and I bought it 2, 3 years ago. So it has gone up, but it just
Yeah,
hasn't gone up compared to some of these other ones.
it was
And I
great.
don't think the movie that just came out is going to help that book any. Like, I don't think it's going to.
Now I
I
heard the
think it's
movie
going
was
to go
pretty
down.
good, but I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
I saw it, but if you watch my review, you'll get a sense I didn't like it at all.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't. I thought it was kind of boring. My kids hated it too, so that was not a good sign.
Oh, well, that's not good.
It was just
Everybody said
boring.
to me, yeah,
Yeah,
everybody said it was too long. That's the main thing I got out of it. It was too long. I'm gonna watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. I don't run to the
it's worth
theater anymore.
watching. If you like comics, you'll
Yeah,
there's a bit of stuff in there.
there's only a few things that I run to the theater for, and that's Avengers and first and foremost Spider-Man because I always go that.
Yeah,
The Iron Man ones I always go see because I love Robert Downey Jr. But the Avengers and the Spider-Man ones, I'm there like opening week, 100%.
yeah, me too. And I'm actually looking forward to Ant-Man. You know,
I
I,
think
I
that's the one that's kind of tell people what's going on because everybody's still a little clueless and like that one's gonna say, all right, this is what's gonna happen type of thing.
see. I actually expected Multiverse of Madness to do that, but it didn't.
Mm.
So I'm thinking that Quantum Mania is the one that they're going to use to set up the King thing and set up all these kind of storylines that they're going to go ahead with. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be one of those kind of important movies for that reason.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it comes out in February, if I'm not mistaken. So a
Yeah,
couple
I
more
think
months
something
and
like
we're
that.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
All right. So we've been at it for an hour and a half. So uh, we usually only go an hour, but this has been a great conversation. So again, I want to thank you for coming on the channel, bud.
oh,
Really
thanks.
good having here. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, Comic Collector Geek, he's also on Instagram, same title. Do me a favor, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Go ahead and follow him and check all this stuff out. Because when I say he's got some of the most amazing books, and you'll see it right from the first video that you watch, all the stuff he
Mhm.
has. So definitely check him out. And again, thank you for coming on, man. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thanks again for having me. And you'll have to come on my channel and we'll do an
Uh,
interview.
Dude, let me know anytime. I am there.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. So thank you for everybody out in the live stream and the chat. This is Lawrence and of course CCG. Now that's what I'm going to refer to him as that now. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Okay.